2020 election, dozens of former intelligence officials, some very famous people with a lot of credibility, produced a letter claiming that Hunter Biden's recently discovered laptop was from Russia. It was likely Russian disinformation. That was a lie, and we've suspected it was a lie for more than 2 years now. Now we're learning that lie came directly from Joe Biden and Tony Blinken, now the Secretary of State. That lie was election interference. And yet there was not a single question about this story today at the White House briefing. We, by contrast, will have all the very latest on it in just a moment. But first, good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. For centuries, politicians in this country assumed that in order to win an election, you had to convince voters to vote for you. You had to make their case. That was called democracy. But the defining strategic insight of the modern Democratic Party is that you don't really need to convince anyone of anything. What matters is demographics. You need to import enough people from elsewhere, people who are financially dependent on you in order to live. That's the story of the state of California. That's why California changed. It's why Texas is changing. But it's also happening at the local level all over the country. Democrats have realized that they win the vote in virtually every major city. But the suburbs remain contested, and that matters because suburban voters elect school boards and state legislators and of course, members of Congress. So if you want total control over the entire country, you need demographic change everywhere, including in the suburbs. This is a very obvious insight, and Democrats have been on the case for quite a while. Back in 2009, the Obama administration took the county of Westchester in New York, a solidly Democratic place, to court. Why'd they do that? Well, the administration withheld tens of millions of dollars in federal funding unless Westchester pledged to build 10,000 low-income, high-density apartments in their suburbs. The Obama administration later implemented a rule requiring suburbs to take, quote, affirmative steps to diversify their neighborhoods, or else they would lose federal money. When he took office, Joe Biden threw his support behind something called the HOME Act. Among other things, the HOME Act would allow the federal government to withhold funds from local governments if they didn't find ways to add high-rise apartments or high-density zoning to suburbs. Specifically, the act would have prevented local governments from enacting, quote, ordinances that ban apartment buildings from certain residential areas or set a minimum lot size for a single-family home. So you can't be safe in a leafy suburb anymore.